say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in mine, baby, don't ever look back. And we can build this dream together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
The Olympic Winter Games Beijing 2022 are brought to you by Sobeys, official grocer of Team Canada. Feed the dream.
I'm Anita Bathe. Today on CBC Vancouver News.
How am I managing after 4 months? Well, I still have nightmares.
Helping farmers hit by flooding. Is the funding enough? Also.
And I put in about 10 offers and everything was oversold by $65,000 to $100,000.
BC's red-hot housing market and why the advice of moving further away from the city just doesn't cut it anymore.
I'm gonna miss our barge.
Are you gonna miss it?
I think so.
It's become part of the beach.
And soon that barge won't be so large. The plans to move it off English Bay.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Thanks for joining us. It seems the bidding wars are heating up again. People on the hunt to buy a home are being met with stiff competition and multiple offers from other purchasers as prices increase and supply is at an all-time low. As the CBC Michelle Gassoub is finding out, that age-old advice of telling people to move further and further east is no longer helping the problem.
Femina Azim knew Surrey's housing market was hot, but she didn't know how hot.
After he had put the listing up on Monday, my house sold on Tuesday. I wasn't prepared that it sold that fast.
With Azim's home of 30 years sold, she turned her sights to finding a new one in Maple Ridge.
Every house that I saw about 10 to 15 houses, and I put in about 10 offers, and everything was oversold by $65,000 to $100,000.
Realtors warning buyers sky-high bids are becoming the norm.
This complex that we're standing in right now is had a sale, very recent sale, listed for $798 and sold 39% over the asking price at $1,108,000, which is substantial.
This townhouse in Fleetwood made headlines when it sold, but it's not the exception. The average price of a detached home in Greater Vancouver up 25% in the last year. And while the advice used to be to leave Vancouver to find something affordable, that's getting harder and harder to do. The average selling price of a detached home in the Fraser Valley now up 42% in the past year. The number of homes for sale in Canada has hit a record low, dwindling supply combined with the low interest rate causing prices to skyrocket.
What worries me is 5 years from now, when some of these interest rates may or may not be what they are, is that home still going to be affordable for you?
Azim eventually found her dream home in the Silver Valley area, but she worries the next generation will simply be locked out of this market.
The amount of money that I got selling my house and finding a new one was easier for me. But for my sons, it's going to be very difficult for them.
And there's currently no end in sight.
It's anticipated that the market's still going to go up a further 10% this year.
BC's Minister responsible for housing, David Eby, says new measures on housing are coming in the fall, leaving the housing situation in a red-hot state and many hopeful buyers on the sidelines. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, huge help is on the way for farmers hit hard by November's devastating floods. And BC's agriculture industry says the funds can't come soon enough. Isabel Regam joins us live from Abbotsford today. And you're overlooking the Sumas Prairie, Isabel, and that area was just covered in water, in many cases chest level. And there's really a long road to recovery there. So can you break down this new funding for us?
That's right, Anita. While the land is now relatively dry, the impact is long-lasting. And the province says about 1,100 individual farms were impacted by those flooding events in November. And now that anyone in that sector will be able to get financial help or access financial help from a $228 million program. And the province says that will cover 4 separate areas that are currently not covered by existing government supports or by private insurance. Here's a breakdown.
The first category is returning flood-impacted land and buildings to a safe environment for agricultural production. The second is the loss of perennial plants not raised for resale, like blueberry plants. Other categories include expenses relating to the repair of uninsurable farm infrastructure and costs for animal welfare, such as replacement feed, livestock transportation, and veterinary care.
Now, you'll remember that record rains combined with overflowing rivers in mid-November swamped farmland in several areas of southern BC and Vancouver Island, and in particular in the Sumas Prairie, where water flooded barns, fields, and homes. Thousands of animals were killed, and many produce farmers have said it will take years until they are able to grow healthy crops again on the land. And just to let you know, there is no limited geography for where this farm funding will provide, so you can be anywhere in the province impacted by those specific flooding events in November. And while the financial boost is welcome, many impacted say the road to recovery remains long and emotional.
How am I managing after 4 months? Well, I mean, I still have nightmares. I still wake up thinking about flood waters being beside my bed. Last night was particularly a difficult night. We're slowly stepping forward, one step at a time. We'll get through this support of our community.
We don't see the end of it yet. We do see increased food costs. And so I think, that's going to continue to be a challenge going forward until the pandemic's well and truly over, and until we get a handle on how to supply food in a world with a lot more climate disruption.
So, Isabel, keeping all of those challenges in mind, how can farmers access this money and how much can they get?
Okay, so I'll start off, Anita, by saying the province did not directly answer several questions today about this program and the question you were asking. But I'll start off by saying we do know that the money in the online portal is now available. So anyone impacted could currently go online and file an application. And then the province says an individual staff member from the ministry will individually access or reach out to each application or applicant. But when we asked today when the money would flow, Minister Popham just said they'll be working to get checks out ASAP, but we don't know if that means in the days to come, the weeks to come, the months to come. We also asked the province how much would each farmer or farm would receive, and that was unclear, with the Minister Popham only saying every case will be unique. So how much money can they claim? We still don't have that answer. So we'll have to see how this unfolds in the days to come, Anita.
All right, Isabel Regam live for us today in Abbotsford. Thanks, Isabel. BC's job market is about to open up in a major way, with the latest projections showing more than 1 million positions becoming available over the next decade. Nearly 2/3 of those will open as a result of people retiring. The rest will come from economic growth and pandemic recovery. Now, the jobs minister is flagging some potential concerns. Almost 80% of these jobs will require some form of post-secondary education or skills training.
When I talk to business owners and leaders across the economy, I hear the same message over and over again. A skills gap is looming. So let's work together to close it. Let's aim high. Let's make sure that every British Columbian has the skills and the talents needed for the jobs of tomorrow.
The biggest growth sectors are expected to be healthcare, social services, education, and science and tech. Well, former BC Liberal leader Andrew Wilkinson is stepping down from his riding of Vancouver-Kilchenna to make room for the new party leader, Kevin Falcon. It's been 2 days since assuming the helm of the BC Liberal Party, and now Kevin Falcon, who doesn't currently have a seat, will be looking for a safe one as he runs in a by-election. Falcon won 52% of the vote from the party members to become the third leader of the BC Liberals since 2017.
One of the things that makes me feel so happy today is the unanimity that was shown as we had our first caucus meeting with me as the leader of the BC Liberal Party.
The BC Liberals have lost 2 consecutive elections after holding power for 16 years. Under the leadership of Andrew Wilkinson, the party was reduced to 28 seats. Now it's up to Falcon to win Wilkinson's seat to gain access to the BC Legislative Assembly as he looks to rebuild his party. Students and faculty at UBC are back learning in person today for the first time since the end of the fall semester.
I like that in person does feel more real, like that university experience, but it is slightly terrifying to be sitting shoulder to shoulder in some classes with 200 other kids.
I feel like online school, it was a little bit better because I could go at my own pace.
You know, if they find that they can't come to campus or they've got family pushing on them to stay away, I'm going to try and make sure that they can still get all the material.
Most, but not all programs had been online only this semester until today. All students and staff must still wear a face covering while inside. Well, it's become sort of ironically iconic, but its days are numbered. Plans are in motion to remove the beached barge out of Vancouver's English Bay. And as John Hernandez reports, well, some residents are ready to wave goodbye.
Even on a quiet Monday morning, this red Goliath can still draw some eyeballs.
It's become part of the beach.
I think it hit in the right spot. It's not interfering with the peoply part of the beach.
And just about everyone has their own idea of what to do with it.
I came down here, so I kind of wanted to see it, and I thought, no, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to remove it, or will some entrepreneur want to take that top part off, replace it with glass, level the floor, and make a restaurant?
It's been nearly 3 months since this barge washed up on this Vancouver beach during a catastrophic wind and rain event. During that time, it's garnered international fame and plenty of photo ops. But patience for some residents is starting to wear thin.
Seems that Vancouverites have adopted it, but I don't think most Vancouverites want to end up paying for it. It's not that pretty.
It's a novelty. I think the novelty's probably worn off.
Calls that might soon be answered. The owner of this barge, Century Marine Towing, has confirmed plans are underway to remove it. Permit applications are awaiting approval, including ones from the city and the park board. It won't be as simple as just towing it away. Instead, crews will have to break it apart piece by piece. Those will then be hauled away by another barge. The company says the goal is to start work within a month, but the job could take up to 60 days. Century Marine Towing says the environmental impact will be minimal. With the end on the horizon, it will be a bittersweet goodbye for some.
I'm going to miss our barge.
Are you going to miss it?
I think so.
Whether you think it's an eyesore or a local mascot, the clock is winding down on this chunk of metal's 15 minutes of fame. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Not a bad day to go check out that beached barge, Joe. I was about to say it's feeling very spring-like, but I got a little distracted by our matching outfits.
I know, Anita, it's scientifically proven if enough people wear, what are we doing? Fuchsia, bright red?
Yeah.
It'll feel like spring out there. So, yeah, we're getting there. We're both, I think, feeling the warmer weather. It really did feel like spring out there this morning. I know we started the day off with some showers. Still not all blue skies with some dark clouds threatening to bring the showers back tomorrow. Let me get you to the current temperatures, though. That's what's really making it feel like the next season. 12 right now at YVR, 11 out towards Abbotsford. This is our warmest temperature we have felt in weeks for Vancouver, and we have some more double-digit temperatures in the forecast. Now, we do have a lot of cloud lingering across the south coast, and we had those showers this morning. That's because the high-pressure ridge that will build for most of the week isn't quite in position yet. We've got an approaching Pacific low that this high pressure is trying to deflect north of us. It's going to work its way down to the north coast of the island, bring some risk of showers tomorrow, again to Metro Vancouver tomorrow afternoon through Wednesday morning, but no warnings in place. So this isn't a severe weather system. That high pressure is going to block the worst of it. Most of the rain and precip hitting basically central and northern coastal sections and not really making its way across the Rockies. So high pressure will rebound. There it is, pushing back Wednesday afternoon. By Thursday, it'll be into place. So we've got a good looking long range forecast, but of course, high pressure this time of the year does mean the risk of fog. Seeing temperatures rebound right across the province. You can see that steady rain for Prince Rupert down towards Port Hardy, 3 for Prince George, about that up towards Fort St. John. I was thinking this forecast is actually very reminiscent of the Vancouver Olympics. Warm and mild, high snow levels, and Anita, double-digit temperatures by the time we hit next weekend. I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
It was a funeral that brought thousands of people into the streets. 100 years ago, Joe Fortes, a pioneering Black City leader, was laid to rest. We look back at his life and legacy next. "100 years ago today, one of the largest funerals in Vancouver's history was held for Joe Fortes, a pioneering figure in BC's Black community. He was the city's first paid lifeguard who's taught hundreds how to swim and save dozens of lives. Our Ashley Mollier looks at his legacy a century after his death and why his story is more complex than it appears.
The legacy of Joe Fortes is the ways in which Black pioneers fought a variety of difficulties, of exclusion, to try to make a life for themselves.
Joe Fortes was born in Trinidad and moved to Liverpool, England as a young man. He worked as a seaman and eventually came to Vancouver in 1885 and was a bartender. After years of volunteering his time at English Bay Beach, he became the city's first paid lifeguard and was a swimming instructor.
So he was really a man before his time in teaching people of all ages, all gender, how to swim.
Joe clutched me by the back of my bathing suit, and he told me how to move my arms and how to move my legs. He had a rowboat, and he would parole up and down the beach certain times when he wasn't teaching lessons, but he always had an eye on that beach.
The English Bay Beach was his beat, so to speak. He was also a special constable by evening, and he walked the streets of English Bay and patrolled and kept order.
Parts of Fortes are still all around Vancouver. A drinking fountain in the West End was carved in his memory after his death. His porch chair and a handkerchief he gifted to someone are nestled in the Museum of Vancouver Archives.
We have Joe's original oil lamp, very well preserved. We also have the certificate that was given to Joe by the City of Vancouver in 1910 in appreciation for all the work that he did at English Bay Beach.
Although Fortes was adored and loved by many, some in Vancouver's Black community say there's another way to see his story.
What I see here is a Vancouver, white Vancouver, patting itself on the back for being extremely generous to a Black man, as if it's some exception that he was a capable Black man. Was he really integrated, or was he only accepted to the extent that he was able to save lives? And so I see this hero. I see Vancouver recognizing him as a hero, but I think his story is a lot more complicated.
Francis points out that Fortes died just as Vancouver's Black community, Hogan's Alley, was forming, so there aren't many accounts of him interacting with other Black people. She says in old photos, she sees him alone or pictured with white people at the beach.
I see isolation. I see social isolation. I see the ways in which he's a token of something. When we're the only one in a space, there's often room for inclusion because we do not represent a collective threat. But as soon as we form communities of us, that's usually when we get targeted.
What can we learn from Joe's life?
I think from Joe we can learn how much you can achieve just by being true to who you are and offering your assistance and your kindness.
And that's what I see in Joe. A man that came and, despite the odds, reached out to the people, many of whom he knew were had definitely anti-Black racism and white supremacy was reigning supreme. But he never gave in to that, despite his own personal hardship. I think this is a story that should inspire us all to the kind of society we should be aspiring to be.
People aren't done recognizing Fortes' legacy. The city has declared February 9th Joe Fortes Day, and the Vancouver Historical Society plans to honor his life with a plaque. Ashley Mollier, CBC News, Vancouver.
A live look right now into Beijing, where it's 7:23 in the morning on a Tuesday, day 4 of the Winter Olympic Games. We look ahead at who and what to watch for next. Canada picked up 4 medals on day 3 of the Olympic Winter Games in Beijing. And heading into the 4th day of competition, there could be more on the way. Here's Douglas Gellivan with a look at our chances.
After 4 thrilling medal-winning performances by Canadians on day 3, including Canada's first gold medal of the Games, all eyes will be on Canada's women as they take to the big air in skiing on day 4. Megan Oldham is the favorite in this competition. She's heading into the final after qualifying in first place. The 20-year-old from Newmarket, Ontario, is also coming off a silver medal win in this event at the X Games last month. 17-year-old Olivia Asselin from Quebec City will also be in the mix as she qualified for the final 2. Canada's other medal hope on day 4 is in speed skating. Canmore's Connor Howe is ranked 3rd in the world in the 1,500 meters and is coming off a silver medal win at that distance at a World Cup event in Calgary in December. In the men's Super G, Jack Crawford has worked his way into the podium conversation. Crawford skied to a 4th place finish in the downhill on day 3 and considers the Super G the better of his 2 events. Canada's women's hockey team should get their first real test on the ice on day 4 after blowing away opponents by a combined score of 29-3 in their first 3 games. They will now face off against their arch rivals, the USA, to wrap the preliminary round. The Americans beat Canada 4 years ago in Pyeongchang to win the gold. In figure skating, Keegan Messing has arrived in China and will compete on day 4 in the men's short program. The 30-year-old missed the team event already when his travel to Beijing was disrupted by a positive COVID test, but he's cleared protocol now and is ready to compete. Finally, here's a look at how the medal standings shape up after 3 full days of action. ROC leads the overall count with 7. Canada right behind them with 6. Sweden leads the gold medal count with 3. Douglas Gellivan, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, go Canada. Thanks so much for watching this afternoon. A reminder, CBC Vancouver is on at 3 p.m. during the Olympics on television, but you can always watch our show on demand on our website, Facebook, or YouTube. Have a great rest of your day.
The following